On today's post-New York Comic Con episode, we're talking stopping artists from flaking, how to sell more books at conventions, and courting publishers. What's up, everybody? Back from the New York Comic Con with another episode of AskComixTribe. This is episode number 3, the New York Comic Con post special. I was actually hoping to do some recording from the show, but it was just too busy, and that just wasn't happening because our table was swamped the entire time. 150,000 plus people. It's now the biggest show in North America. But I'm about 95% of the way back from a bad case of the con flu, so let's get into the questions.
Is there a way to decrease the likelihood of an artist flaking out on you? I know that paying full industry rates isn't necessarily a guarantee the artist sticks around for the whole project.
All right, how to stop the flaking artist. I've joked before that if I ever wanted to never be out of clients, I would start a detective agency that specializes in finding missing collaborators. I'd never go out of business there. Of course, comics creators notoriously don't have a lot of money to toss around, so I'd probably still be broke. If you've done this creating comics for a while, chances are you're going to run into a situation where you start a project, get someone involved in a collaboration, and things start to go well, and then all of a sudden they either disappear or just don't fulfill their obligations. Alyssa did mention in her comments how paying industry rates might not be the only thing that would drive whether an artist flakes or not, and she's right. It's a lot easier for an artist to walk away from a gig for no or low pay than it is for a better one. Better paying job, but that's not to say that money is the only issue. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to stop artists from flaking that don't have anything to do with money. One way to stop artists from flaking on your projects is simply to ask for less at the beginning. I use a lot of dating metaphors when I talk about comics collaboration, and asking an artist to come on even for just a one-shot, a 22-page one-shot, is the equivalent of asking someone that you've never gone out with on a single date to go away with you for the weekend. It's coming on too strong. It's a big ask. So think about it. The average artist takes between 8 and 10 hours to do a single page. Multiply that by 23, which is like the average size of a comic. You're asking for 230 hours of someone's life right off the bat. A project of that size, frankly, is a lot of work, especially if there's not a lot of pay associated with it, and so it's easier for an artist to walk away from. Now think about what it is like if you're asking an artist to come on for a mini-series or something like that. That's like asking an artist to get married. So instead, start by asking for smaller projects. If you see an artist that you really like, hire him to do a couple character designs and see how that goes. If you see an artist that you want to work with long term or have the perfect project for it, start with just a 5-page short and see if you can get them to do that. And then pay attention to what happens. Is this a good working relationship? Are they communicating their ability to get work done? Are they hitting milestones? Are you delivering to them everything that you say that you're going to do? Again, start small, baby steps, and I think that's how you start to build relationships with people and become the kind of person that artists will want to work with on bigger projects. And now the second reason that artists flake, and this is something that a lot of writers probably don't want to hear, but it's just frankly that the stuff that they're getting from the writers that are asking to work with them isn't that good. A group of us got together after the show, one of the nights of New York Comic Con, and in the group there was a prominent Image Comics artist who, great artist, phenomenal guy, professional in every sense of the word, but he admitted to, earlier on in his career as he was coming up, flaking on some projects, and he said the main reason was he got the script and it just wasn't that good. And one of the things that he said was that he wants to see an evidence of the writers that he works with working as hard as he does at their craft as he works at his craft. Think of all the things artists need to know. They need to know perspective, they need to know anatomy, they need to know storytelling, they need to know lighting, pacing, all those things. Well, there's just as many things that a writer who's serious about their craft can master. There's dialogue, there's, again, pacing, there's structure, putting together an absolute dynamite pitch. Artists want to see that the writers that they're working with are working just as hard at their craft as they are. So one of the things that you can do to minimize the chance that an artist is going to get their script and think, I could toss this, or I could take this or leave it, is to give them the best damn script that you possibly can. Some of the ways you do that is by making sure that you've had outside eyes look at it. Either you've paid an editor, or you're working with an editor, or a comic script review group. If you don't have a comic script review group or a class or something that you can take, start one. John Lees started a group in Glasgow, and that's his de facto sounding board for his ideas. So that by the time he hands Ian Laurie a script, or he hands Nick Pitara a script, they're going to look at that and they'll say, this guy's done his work. So another way to prevent artists from flaking on you is to give them a script that they can't not want to draw.
Would you recommend sending a self-published comic to publishers as an audition or portfolio book to help get my name out?
So the short answer to your question is yes. In a lot of cases, publishers, the only thing that they're going to look at from writers that they don't know or haven't solicited things from is your creator-owned, self-published work. A lot of times, and Marvel, DC, they don't want you to send you scripts of their characters or scripts of unpublished things because there's liability issues and things like that. So yes, that's a good thing to put in front of them. But one thing with your question that I just want, or it's a thing that I think a lot of creators get a little bit wrong, or they think about it differently. I want you to think about it this way: is you don't pitch publishers, you don't pitch companies, you pitch people. And to that, what that really means is you're going to want to do your homework and find out who is it that you're actually sending things to, and establish a relationship, establish a rapport with those persons. You don't pitch ComixTribe. ComixTribe doesn't respond to anything. You're pitching me, and you're pitching my editorial board. So if you were going to send something my way, it'd probably behoove you to do a little bit of research and go to comixtribe.com and see what we've said about things we're looking for, or how we think about the comic market. That would definitely help you. At Image, you're not pitching Image Comics, you're pitching Eric Stevenson and a couple other decision makers over there. So figuring out who has the power to give your stuff a green light is going to go a long way. I also wouldn't just blanket send your stuff to every publisher or every editor out there. A better approach is to figure out, all right, who in the industry edits books that are like the books that you're doing, and figure out the 5, 10, 15 publishers or editors that are doing stuff like the books that you want to and make an effort to establish a relationship with them.
Any tips for selling more books at conventions?
Conventions are a great place to sell your books, but selling doesn't always come easy to all of us. So 3 tips for selling more books at cons, and these are things that I put into practice. And New York Comic Con this year, 2014, was by far the ComixTribe's biggest total sales convention. Part of that was the increased attendance, and part of that is because I think 4 years in, we kind of know what we're doing. So I'm going to give you 3 tips to improve your sales at conventions. The first is you need to engage people. Don't be afraid to make the first move. People are walking by, engage them. Hey, have you heard about this book? Hey, have you heard about ComixTribe before? Hey, do you like comics? I see too many creators just sitting back waiting for the adoring public to come to them. And while that may work for the top names in the industry, if you're just getting started, you're going to need to hustle a little bit. And people are coming to these shows and walking up and down Artist Alley because they want to engage with the creators and the material there. So don't be afraid to make it easier for them by engaging them. Second tip is you need to go vertical. You need to make sure that people walking by your table can see your products. In a minute, I'm going to show you a little bit more about what that looks like. And the third thing is you need to have a dynamite pitch. You've got about 15 seconds before people's eyes are going to start to roll in the back of their head and they're no longer hearing you. They're thinking about what they're going to have for lunch, or what was the last thing they saw, or what the next thing they're going to look at. So you need about a solid 15-second pitch. And in the pitch, I'd like you to be able to get across the concept, connect it to something that they already know and probably like, And if you can get a laugh or a nod of acknowledgement out of them when you pitch something, that they say, oh, they get it, and they want to know more. And then just a fourth bonus thing, draw them to the selling points of your book. So if you have great art, make sure that they see that before they leave your table. And hopefully they'll be leaving with a book. Now, it's easy to say that stuff. I'm going to show you how I do it. Hey, have you heard of the Red 10? Okay, well, the Red 10 is a superhero murder mystery. It's sort of how I would kill off the Justice League if DC was crazy enough to let me. In the series, this character is killed, and everyone assumes her nemesis, the oxymoron, did it. So the 10 heroes on our super team track him down to his fortress, and then everything goes to hell. And one by one character in each issue gets killed off. And as the series goes on, you start to realize that each one of these so-called heroes is hiding a dark secret, one that they're ultimately being punished for. So it's a 10-issue series. We're through the first 5 issues so far, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Hope you check it out. Okay, just a couple quick things about my table setup here. I've experimented with a lot of different ways to display books, and this setup really works the best, I've found, in terms of getting books to sell. A couple things about it. So I said earlier that you need your books to go vertical so that they can, people walking by can make eye contact with the books. But I found it's also important to put a nice stack of the books out there close to the customers or close to prospective buyers so that they can actually touch it, pick it up easily, and flip through it. I see some people with hard plastic cases that go vertical, but then there's sort of a disconnect where people try to grab the books out of those cases, and sometimes the books get messed up, and there's a reluctance to pick them up. But by combining both the propped up books, I just use these little cheap, I think these are plate holders or wire plate holders. But by combining that going vertical and the books displayed out in front, it really leads to good, strong sales. Just a couple things about my pitch. I tried to connect it to something that people already know, Justice League. Every person walking up and down the artist alley in a comic shop knows the Justice League, and a lot of them have a love-hate relationship with DC's brand. So saying that this is a series where it's how I would kill them seems to register. And then I also really try to draw them in and use the book itself to help sell the book. So I try to get the books in their hands and pointing them to these awesome covers and things like that to really get them to engage with the product, and this has been one of my most successful pitches. All right, Talkback Question of the day. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about comic book conventions? My favorite thing is getting to interact with my favorite people in the industry. Least favorite thing is Conflu. It gets me every single year at New York. Every single year. Okay, that's another episode of AskComixTribe, the question and answer show about the craft and business of creating comics. I'm back from New York now. I've got a stack of all these pitches to review and lots of comics to make. So thanks to everybody who came out and made New York Comic Con 2014 an awesome time for the tribe. Thanks to John Lees, Ian Laurie, Cesar Feliciano, Joel Mulvey, Alex Cormick, and Rafer Roberts, Doug Hills, and everybody else who came by the Comics Tribe booth and made it such a great show for us. Remember to subscribe to this show, and if you need to get a question on this show, we want to answer it. So use hashtag AskComixTribe or shoot your emails to ask@comixtribe.com. This episode of Ask Comics Tribe is brought to you by Malort. Malort, whose idea was this? Mulvied! You're asking for about 230 hours of someone's life for a single issue. Intern Charles agrees with me. That's not